Complete the number sentences using these cards. So we have decimals and we're either multiplying or dividing by 10, 100 or 1,000. So what we can do is write out both numbers one below the other and see how the digits have moved. So first we have 36.55 and 365.5. So we've written the numbers out with the decimal points lined up, because if the decimal points are lined up, the place values in the question, so our hundreds, tens, ones, tenths and hundredths digits will be lined up as well. Now we need to see how have the digits moved. Well, the digits have moved one place to the left. If the digits move to the left, we're multiplying, and if they've moved one place, that's multiplying by 10, because the number 10 has 1 0, so we move the digits one place. So we need times 10. Now we have 0.2 and 0.002. We can see, if we look at this 2, that it's moved to the right, so we're dividing, and it's moved 2 squares, so that's dividing by 100, because the number 100 has 2 zeros, so the digits move 2 squares. Now we have 7,800, so because that's a whole number, we can put the decimal point on the end, and we have 7.8. So here the digits have moved 1, 2, 3 squares to the right, so that's dividing by 1,000, because 1,000 has 3 zeros. And finally, we have 47.3 and 4,730. So again, because it's a whole number, we write that with the decimal point at the end, and we can see digits have moved 2 squares to the left, so that's multiplying by 100. All the water in these two containers is to be poured into the empty container below. Draw where the water level will be in the container. So we can see that this first container has 300 millilitres and this second container has halfway between 400 and 500, so that's 450. The water in these two containers is to be poured into this container. So first, let's work out how much water gets poured in altogether. So we can add 300 plus 450, because that will give us the total amount of water in these two containers. That's 750 millilitres to be poured in. Now half a litre is 500 millilitres, because 1 litre is 1,000 millilitres, and half of 1,000 is 500. So we want 750 millilitres, and that's the number right in the middle. So we have 3/4 of a litre, because we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and we want the third line. So our line needs to be drawn here. 3/4 of a litre, or 750 millilitres. A white square is painted in one corner of a grey square. Each side of the white square is half the length of a side of the grey square. What is the area of the grey section? So we know that to find the area, so to find how much space something takes up, if it's a square, we can multiply the width or the length of the square by itself. And because we know the side length of the white square is half the length of a grey square, half of 12 is 6, so the lengths at the side will be 6 centimetres. So then we can work out the area of the white square by working out 6 times 6, and we can subtract that area from the area of the big square. So to find the area of the big square, we can multiply 12 by itself to get 144. 6 times 6 is 36, so that's the area of the white square, And then to find the area that's grey, we can subtract the area that's white from the total area, and 144 minus 36 is 108. So the area is 108 centimetres squared. The other way to work this out would be to divide the grey section in two. So then, because we know that each side of the white square is half the length of the side of a grey square, we know that this length that's white is 6, which means that this length must be 6 as well, because 6 plus 6 gives a total of 12. And the same here, we have 6 and 6 to get a total length of 12. So now we can find the area of this part here by multiplying 6 by 6. So that's 36. And now to find the area of this rectangle, we can multiply the length by the width, and 12 times 6 is 72. So the area of this square is 36, and the area of this rectangle is 72 centimetres squared. So to find the total area of the grey section, we can add 72 and 36, and again that gives us 108 centimetres squared as our area. Here is a grid with 8 squares shaded in. Shade in 2 more squares to make a symmetrical pattern. So if a pattern is symmetrical, we can draw a line of symmetry down the middle, and then we have the same reflected on both sides. So first, we need to think, where could our line of symmetry be? Well, if we have a horizontal line of symmetry, we'll need to shade in a lot of squares up here, and we need to only shade in 2 more squares. So our line of symmetry is vertical. We only need to shade in 2 squares, because this square is reflected here, this square is reflected here, and this square is reflected here. So now we just need to reflect this square, so we can shade in this square here, and to reflect this square, we need to shade in this square here. So we've shaded in only 2 more squares, but now we have the same reflected on both sides of our line of symmetry. Strips of paper are each 30 centimetres long. Steve joins strips of paper together to make a streamer. The strips overlap each other by 5 centimetres. How long is a streamer made from only 2 strips? So we can see that we have 2 strips in this diagram, but if there's only 2 strips, there won't be this 3rd strip as well. So we can see that the 2 strips are each 30 centimetres, but there's 5 centimetres where they overlap. So 2 times 30 is 60, but then we need to subtract the 5 centimetres where they overlap. So 30 times 2 is 60, minus 5 is 55. The other way of thinking about this is that this first strip will really only be 25 centimetres, because that's where the second strip starts. And then we'll have 30 centimetres for our second strip, and 25 plus 30 is 55. Now, Sunita makes a streamer that is 280 centimetres long. How many strips does she use? Well, we need to think the strips on the end will be 30 centimetres because there won't be this bit where another streamer overlaps, but all of our other streamers will really only be 25 centimetres because 5 centimetres is where they will overlap with the next one. So if we subtract 30 from 280, that gives us 250. We're subtracting 30 because that will be the length of the last strip in the streamer. So now we need to think how many other strips will give a total of 250 centimetres. Remember, because they overlap, they're really only 25 centimetres long. So if we divide 250 by 25, that gives us 10. So we have 10 other strips, or 10 strips at the start of 25 centimetres, and then a last strip of 30 centimetres. So that's the one last strip, plus 10, that's the other strips, means that we have 11 strips in the streamer altogether. Amir says all numbers that end in a 4 are multiples of 4. Is he correct? Explain how you know. So we need to remember that a multiple of 4 is a number in the 4 times table, or a number that can be divided by 4 without giving a remainder. So Amir is wrong, and when the person is wrong, to explain how we know, we can just give an example. 14 ends in a 4, but it is not a multiple of 4 because it's not in the 4 times table.